and so it got to a point where that business was able to run without my direct involvement. Like I really only touched that business like 2 hours a month. It took about 2 years to get it to that point, but then I ran audience ops for about 6 years, and I sold that business in 2021. Um, but that was a great business.
From breaking out of the 9 to 5 grind in 2008 to building a portfolio of thriving online ventures, today's guest has mastered the art of turning business ideas into scalable products. Welcome to WP Legends. I'm Gautam, co founder of Seahawk Media. And today I'm joined by Brian Castle, entrepreneur, designer, developer, and the mind behind a string of successful product businesses. Brian founded Restaurant Engine back in 2011 and then sold it, a platform that not only reshaped how restaurants went online, but also inspired my first own agency, The Sidecook, which later evolved into Seahawk Media. Over the years, Brian has built, scaled, and sold multiple companies, including Process Kit, Zip Message, and many, many more, while continuing to launch new ventures at an impressive pace. His current projects include Builder Methods training for developers on building with AI, Agent OS, an open source system for coding agents, and Instrumental, a suite of SaaS design, development, and component products. In this conversation, we'll dive into Brian's approach to spotting opportunities early, productizing services for scale, and staying ahead of the curve in an AI-driven development world. Brian, welcome to WP Legends. Let's go back to the
Wow,
beginning.
wow, that is quite an introduction. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to get
Pleasure.
into it. And by the way, thanks for pronouncing my last name correctly, Castle.
Yeah, yeah, I actually
Like
looked
everyone in
looked
my
up.
life has always said Cassell, so that's good.
I looked up into it. But before you say anything, and I understand your journey, I want to say something to my audience, and nobody knows this. I think my co-founder Ryan doesn't know this. My wife probably would have not remembered this. Restaurant Engine inspired me to start my own agency, which is called The Site Cook. Okay, I didn't tell you this before the show, you know that, and I'll tell you why. So I was just talking to my uncle who lives in San Francisco, and we were just talking about business ideas and stuff like that. I was in my family jewelry gemstones online business, something to do with online astrology sector. That's still there on the background, but I just wanted to, do something in the technology space and world. And food excited me. I've lost a lot of weight now. I've lost maybe 35, 40 kilos, but I'm still a foodie
Wow.
by heart. And I just wanted to do marketing for restaurants, etc. I came across Restaurant Engine, discussed with my uncle, whatever, and decided, okay, I need to get this going. And I'm based in Gurgaon, India. And I started the Site Cook. And at one point, we were managing close to 70 or 80 restaurants, websites, social media, PPC, brochures,
Mhm.
logos, you name it. And then,
That's
long story
amazing.
short, is that I met Ryan, my co-founder, and we married our companies and became Seahawk Media. And today I'm talking to you because of all of that. So you
Man,
have,
it is so cool to hear about that, especially because I never really get to even think back or talk about Restaurant Engine anymore because that was, let's see, I sold it in 2015, so that's 10 years ago, and I started it in like 2011, like 14 years ago. So it was like that's really going back there. Yeah.
would you have ever realized or thought that your model could spark an agency or any other person to start another
You
company?
know, I mean, it's incredible to hear that, but I do remember back on that time when I
Mhm.
was running Restaurant Engine, which, for those who don't know or don't remember, it was restaurant websites. It was websites for restaurants, and it was built on top of WordPress.
Gotcha.
And we were actually using WordPress multi-site. I don't even know if that's still a thing. I guess it probably
It
is,
is.
but
It is. It is
um,
massive. It is massive, and
yeah, okay.
lot of
So
lot of
we were using
evolution.
that. We were using
Lot
that back in 2011, 2012 to run this like network of
of,
websites.
Mhm.
And I sort of just randomly picked restaurants as the niche. I had made a list in my notebook of like 20 different niches that could need websites, and I just chose restaurants for some reason. And then but I do remember during that time getting some publicity from the fact that it was like one of the only SaaS products built around or on top of WordPress. There were a few others, but very few. Like most people were just selling themes and
Mhm.
plugins, but not many people were doing the
I
SaaS
know.
subscription
I
thing. And
know.
so,
I didn't even, my
um,
agency was not even born. And I know Theme Forest
yeah,
was a thing, a massive thing picking up.
yeah,
Drupal, Magento, Joomla were equally popular, like WordPress, where WordPress was gaining a lot of steam and traction because of word of mouth, open source, you name it, whatever. But I came across Restaurant Engine. But I'm curious to
But
understand.
I remember receiving emails like almost every single week from people saying like, I really love Restaurant Engine. I want to do the same thing for plumbers and for dog walkers and for
Well,
magicians.
now
And
we
like,
have.
oh,
Now
yeah,
there's so many
yeah,
companies doing it, whether
yeah,
it's restaurants, plumbers, HVACs, solar
yep,
energy plant, you name it. Dog
exactly.
walking,
Yep.
I don't know. But I am curious to know, like, what led you to the productized services part, and how is it applicable now for your other ventures? That part I would love to know because productized services was
Yeah,
not a big thing
it's
then.
funny like you're catching me here in 2025 and my
Mm.
career has gone through all these different phases. Restaurant Engine was sort of like one of the first phases, and then I did this productized service phase, which was I was really focused on that from around 2014, 15 up until like 2020. Um, it started with a course that I created called Productize. I think I created one of the first courses on the topic of productized services. It, productized services as a model started for me with Restaurant Engine. So Restaurant Engine was essentially a SaaS, but we started to really offer like done for you website setup services.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
remember.
and
I
so and so
remember.
that
Yeah.
was like my first taste of productizing a service. After I sold Restaurant Engine, the next business that I started was called Audience Ops,
Hmm.
and that was a productized service where I built a team of blog writers, and we would so like a lot of SaaS companies would hire us to write the articles for their blogs for their company blogs.
Hmm.
And so I built a productized service around that. In that, like it was a set monthly price with a set scope. You get these deliverables, like a new article every week, and I had a whole system with writers and managers and editors, and and it worked really well. And so it got to a point where that business was able to run without my direct involvement. Like I really only touched that business like 2 hours a month. It took about 2 years to get it to that point, but then I ran audience ops for about 6 years, and I sold that business in 2021. Um, but that was a great business because it was a productized service model, just really well
I think
written,
you
like
sold it at the right
processes.
time before ChatGPT and all other AI came up. I think.
Yes, that's true. I mean, I sold it even before ChatGPT came around, so I couldn't have really predicted that piece of
Well,
it coming.
mm,
But yeah, I feel like I mean, the whole team went on to the new ownership, and they're doing great. But um, yeah, it was also just the right time for me personally to move on into the next thing. And so since then, and since 20, well, before I've been creating software products forever, but now for the past 5, 6 years, I'm really focused on creating software, SaaS products, and now heavily with AI.
well, one thing I must say that how to build, how to build is one thing, how to sell is a completely different thing. So having these two multi-talented things in your brain here is something, because I know selling is tough. Selling a, let alone creating a company, making sure it's slightly profitable, the brand is strong. There's so many combination from, and if our audience should just go to their site, they can see your website names, which are active, not active, sold projects. So, but how? I'm curious to know, and I would love our audience to also understand, like, how are you selling these? How are you finding the buyers, or are you in a group, or what are you doing?
This is a really good topic. I'm glad you brought this up. Just
Mm.
selling in general,
Hmm.
especially for builders, for developers, for designers.
Hmm.
Look, I don't come from a sales background. I never went to business school. I
Hmm.
never really did. I mean, I've done sales in my own businesses, but like before that, it's not like I was employed as a salesperson. So I think that there's this misconception that like either you are a salesperson or you're not. And that's just not true. You can make sales as comfortable as you want it to be for yourself. The whole point, honestly, the secret to being a good salesperson is to be
Hmm.
authentic and be real and not to BS people.
Agreed. Agreed.
And a big part of that to me, like I've always been really fascinated with products in general of all shapes and sizes. Like, I mean, productizing. Like I really love the idea of like this this product solves a very specific problem and it connects with a customer who experiences that problem. And I love the idea of um, this is a no-brainer, right? Like just the other day, like just this morning, I needed to buy a new tripod for my camera. I went on Amazon. I need a very specific size to fit my desk. Like perfect. Like a problem solved, purchased. Like I just love that transaction. Um, Sales. I mean, so whenever I start a new product, whenever I start a new business, I'm really always thinking about, I really start with the marketing website first before I even build the business. So like even right now, I'm just starting to build a new app right now.
Like after builder methods, like beyond builder methods.
Yes, it's actually like a tool that I'm using in Builder Methods, but it's going to be a standalone thing. Um, so I guess I'll share it. It's called newsletterlab.ai.
Okay.
And you can actually go to that website and see the whole pitch for this product, right? I'm not even close to finishing building this product yet. It's not even
newsletter app.
Newsletter lab
Lab.
dot AI.
All right. Cool.
So I need to create a weekly newsletter for my Builder Methods brand. I'm going to be sending, and I need to curate a lot of links from around the web, and I need to draft some messages. That's a lot of work. So I want this tool to use AI to like ingest blogs and YouTube videos and news accounts and RSS feeds and select links that are like worthy of my newsletter for my readers, and then draft some writing for that. So it like automates like 80% of the newsletter creation process, right? So that's my concept. That's my problem that I want to solve for myself first. I'm building this app with Rails and a lot of building with AI. But before I even got into it, for me to understand what exactly am I building, I wanted to create this one-page marketing site that you can see on.
Yeah, I love the logo.
Lab.
It's very clean site. It helps you visualize, I guess. I'm kind of like that.
It helps it like between the headline and even the pricing and like how it's going to work and the features. Like that's how I start to understand like, okay, this is the core problem that it's solving, and this is how I can explain it to people. Then I can start to build it. And I also use that to like get early access interest and whatnot. But
very interesting.
I guess also to answer about your question, like if there's one thread line across all of the products and businesses that I've ever gotten into, I'm not a person who just believes that there's like one magic marketing channel that you can apply to anything. I really think that it's so much more about the product. Yes, you need marketing to like get exposure to your ideal customers, but it doesn't matter how much exposure or how much traffic you can get if you're like the product at the end of the day has to sell itself.
I know. That's true.
So
That's
that to me is like the key,
So tell me, are you like have you been always a solo founder? You've had co-founders. You have a co-founder.
Solo founder on basically everything. A few times I came close to partnering up, and I do things with friends, like I co-host a podcast with Justin Jackson and do stuff like that. But yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So where do you think SaaS and product services intersect now or in the next 5 years, considering Lovable, considering, the new Base 44 and what they're doing? Where do you think?
It's an interesting time. I mean, on the one hand, I still love SaaS. I love creating software. I love crafting software. I love making products in the form of SaaS products. I still think that SaaS is a fantastic business model, and I know many people who have very successful businesses. The growth trajectory of it is incredible. I also sort of believe that now in 2025 we could be at sort of like the beginning of the end of the SaaS party. I think that we might have seen the height of SaaS as a viable product, especially for bootstrapped companies. So like in the last 10 years, I think was probably like the ideal time to have like a B2B SaaS product, before AI, like before AI really came into
like project management tools, like ClickUp, Monday.
Yeah, anything. Yeah. And even like very niche, like just solve one
how many can you guess how many people are like building out project management tools for their own companies on Lovable?
Oh, incredible. It's so many.
Daily. Thousand.
I mean, the big project management tools and the CRM tools, there's always going to be like 1,000 of those competitors. But then you have these like very quiet, nobody knows about this one SaaS that's solving a very particular problem for the HVAC industry, and they're doing like millions
Mm,
a year in revenue. Like those opportunities still exist today for sure,
mm,
but I do think that we're starting to enter the era now where AI is not obviously AI is here, but now AI is like getting good. And
oh
so
yeah.
it's like it's so now it does make our jobs as developers easier and faster. We can build so much more, and that's essentially what I'm doing at Builder Methods. I'm teaching developers how to leverage AI in the process. But I do think that we're going to be entering an era where more companies are building their own tools more easily. So when a big company is deciding between, do I build the tool internally, or do
Hmm.
we hire, or do we buy that SaaS tool over there? The math used to always be that we'll just buy the SaaS tool, get the enterprise plan, whatever,
Yep.
But now
Onboarding,
it's like,
customized onboarding, this, that, you name it.
yeah, exactly. But now
Yep.
it's not that much more difficult to have a couple people in-house who are very skilled in building with AI to spin up your own special tools just for your company,
Mm,
you know. So
that's
I
true.
think that that trend is going to start to grow.
I've
Yeah.
got an interesting one for you. I was just thinking because before we started this recording, you said, "Oh wow, I haven't used WordPress in a while." But listen, you are a WP legend because of Restaurant Engine, and you've used, I don't know, on deployed how many restaurant websites. Maybe some of them still exist. They've been reworked or whatever, But now, so because you are not using WordPress frequently or not using it at all for the past couple of years, what do you think about WordPress? 43% of the internet is still on WordPress.
Oh,
The
it's still
core
huge.
is,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. Do you think WordPress will continue to exist, or do you think the likes of non-WordPress lovables, Framer, Dora Run, and other Wix, Squarespace, they will take the limelight? What do you
Oh,
think?
I think WordPress is already so huge that it's hard to see it not existing.
Hmm.
I think that just like anything else, it'll probably go through a lot of changes.
Hmm.
Um, I know it's had some like rough community stuff happening over the
Yeah.
past year,
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, but the I mean it just it you talk about like 43% of the internet, probably only 1% of those actually follow the project of WordPress, and the other 42% are just small businesses who
You're
happen
right.
to have a website that their developer used WordPress
You are
on. They don't even
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
so I think from that standpoint, it's not going to go anywhere. Um, I mean, I think even AI tools aside, just in the last couple of years, there've obviously been some pretty viable alternatives to using WordPress as a CMS. I mean, but still like nowhere even close to the market share, right? So like
True.
Webflows and whatever else, like
Shopify definitely
Squarespace.
is pretty big, publicly listed, supporting e-commerce tools really well. Shopify has definitely done really, really well for themselves. So some of them are picking
Yeah,
up.
for e-commerce, yeah, like Woo, I
Yeah.
think Woo has had like it's still big, but Shopify is sort
It's,
of
a,
the
it's
the
I'll tell
giant.
you what, it's very difficult for somebody who's never used any sort of technology to launch a website with Woo. With Shopify, you just enter your card info, 1 month is free,
Mhm.
and get
Yep.
going. I think that's the biggest challenge with WordPress, but I think companies like Elementor, if you're kind of like looking into what they're trying to do, they're trying to sort it out by clicking few buttons, launch your WooCommerce store, Elementor AI, launch pages. There's so many companies, SeedProd AI, Astra AI, like there's so many.
I also like thinking about AI. I also question the like how much longer are we gonna actually need CMS, right? Because like I as a developer, I tend to even skip the CMS. I just do a static. If it's a one-page marketing site and it's just me managing it, I'm not even going to use a CMS. I'm just going to create an HTML, like Tailwind CSS, some
Mhm.
JavaScript maybe. But even once I have multiple pages, it's it's easier for me not only to just go into the code and update the HTML, which is easy enough for someone like me, but I could just use Claude Code, or I could use Cursor to like make, and I do to like if I want to rewrite a page, or if I want to change some content on my website, it's pretty easy to just have AI just make that change. So like the question of like, do we even need a CMS anymore? Obviously, a lot,
Oh,
especially for like publishing like blogs and news, you'll probably need it. And if you need to have a
SEO.
large
Actually,
team of
SEO
writers,
wise, search engine optimization was, I think the AI builders are a little far behind, but I don't think they can sort it out pretty quickly because WordPress, honestly speaking, when it comes to SEO, like I'm not a coder, I can't code shit, but I know my SEO game really well. And I can talk to you about SEO day and night. I think when it comes
yeah,
to WordPress,
yeah.
it's pretty good.
But I mean, WordPress is really well does really well with SEO because it formulates the code in
Mhm.
the right format for the meta tags and the
Yes.
structure of the
Yes.
HTML and stuff. All of that can very easily be done with a hand coder or an AI
Mm.
coder. Like
Mm.
it's all at the end of the day, it's code in the browser. Like
Yes, that's true.
browsers and Google might have signals that it's a WordPress site, but ultimately they are reading the HTML. And if you can
That's
generate
true.
HTML,
That's true. That's true. There was a funny thing which I saw the other day. I think it was a couple of months ago. Sundar Pichai, CEO Google, he went on stage and
Mhm.
somebody asked him a question. Aren't you worried with ChatGPT? People are just using ChatGPT for everything, which is kind of true. I'm using ChatGPT for everything also. And aren't you worried that Google's dominance is finally going to end, and stuff like that? He said his simple answer was, our search volume is increasing. You know, I think it's because,
Yeah, and they're pushing people over to their AI search. So I
yes,
mean,
and Gemini.
with
And Gemini.
Gemini, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Gemini does something which ChatGPT does not do. I use both, by the way, for my internal analysis tools, etc. But that's a long story. But anyways, back to you. I'm on your site right now, and I see builder methods, agent OS, instrumental components, instrumental products. But on the right hand side, what
Let me think.
happened? Usually it says sold, but these ones are saying building not available, etc. So tell us about a couple of these projects, especially builder methods and agent OS, which I believe is market ready already, and you're finding customers for that.
Yeah, Agent OS is a new free open source tool that I released about 2 months ago.
Hmm.
Um, it is if you're familiar with using Claude Code or
Hmm.
Cursor,
Also, yes.
they have these like Cursor rules, and Claude Code has like a Claude MD file.
Hmm.
So Agent OS is sort of like those things on steroids, and it's a way for you to establish your tech stack, your coding style, your coding standards, and then it's a way to generate specs for a new feature that you're developing. So the old way, when I say old, I mean like 2023 or
Hmm.
2024,
Hmm.
of working with a coding agent like a Claude Code or Cursor would be, okay, I want to build this feature. You're gonna type this prompt and ask it to build this thing, and then hope that it builds it correctly. It almost never does, and then you got to go back and fix it and change it, and then you're going in those circles. You're constantly prompting and reprompting, right?
Yeah,
The new way, sort of a more professional way that started to gain traction in the industry of developers, is this spec driven development approach. So before
okay.
you even have the agent start to code, you generate or you create specs. So highly detailed specifications for how this particular feature needs to be built, and then break it out into a checklist of tasks to build, and then break those out into subtasks.
Hmm.
Um, and so then you give that to the coding agent, and the agent can then follow your checklist and the technical specifications exactly. So it's like the idea is to front load all of the details and the effort and the analysis to make sure that what we're about to give the coding agent is correct. And then you let the coding agent go, and then they are
Saves a lot
90%
of time. It will save
more
you a lot of
accurate. Yeah.
time, a lot of back and forth, I would say, and that obviously then will lead to time. What I'm assuming, what I'm understanding from you is that this should save a lot of back and forth. Is that correct?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
and it's a way for like coding agents to work more
Mm.
autonomously so that they can actually build a very big feature and get it mostly right, like on the first try, because they followed your specs. And what
I see.
Agent OS does is it helps it helps generate those specs automatically.
I see.
So you can say like, all right, I want to build this user authentication feature, and then Agent OS will generate a highly detailed specification for that, and you can then tweak it and then have Agent OS run your agent to build it out. So
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's why I see.
that's like I guess Agent OS is like the first free open source tool under the umbrella of the Builder Methods
I
business
see.
that
Yeah,
we're
I
trying
was
to
about to
build.
ask you, like, there's no pricing page or anything like that. So it will lead to some sort of offering soon, or it's already,
Yeah, so okay, so like buildermethods.com is the main business that I'm focused
Mhm.
on
Mhm.
right now for the foreseeable
Mhm.
future. And I think that it's primarily going to be like a training and membership company.
Mhm.
Um, and so we have no products yet. Like I just started this business a couple of months
Yeah, I
ago.
see that.
The only thing I've been doing is this YouTube channel and
Okay.
sort of like growing an audience for this, like developers who need to build with AI.
Mm-hmm.
I have an email list. I'm sending a weekly builder briefing for
Mm-hmm.
builders with AI. Um, and then I released that Agent OS. That's another. It's a tool that I'm using, but it's also sort of like a lead magnet into builder methods.
I see.
Um, I think my next step, into the rest of this year is to start to monetize this business, and that's probably going to be a collection of courses, like a Claude Code course, maybe a
Mm-hmm.
Cursor course, a couple other courses, and I think those are going to be part of a membership, like a Builder Methods Pro kind
I
of
see.
offering. Still in the works right now, kind of thinking through it, but that's sort of the direction, and yeah, we'll see where we go.
Yeah, and instrumental products
It's the
is,
first business in a while that's not a pure SaaS or
yeah, I
and
can
also
see
not a
that.
productized service. It's this
Yeah.
time around it's really more about like I guess what you would think of as like a creator led
Mm.
business where it's like YouTube channel, some training and membership and
I'm
community.
assuming, I'm assuming you got and you're using the power of YouTube sectors also because of your coaching, Clarity Flow. We must have led
Yeah.
to that because so many
Yeah,
people.
so Clarity Flow is a SaaS that I started about 5 years ago. And I still run it today. That is a SaaS product aimed at coaches. It's
Mm.
for like
I saw,
asynchronous
I saw.
messaging and video, and we do like you can like sell your coaching services through it. It's got like some courses and appointment booking and stuff. Um, I was full time focused on Clarity Flow for about almost 3.5, 4 years. And then it sort of just got to a point where it was like, it's not growing into the rocket ship that I hoped it would. And it's sort of just doing its thing, a nice level. I've got a small team running it, and I maintain it a little bit, but for the most part, that's running over here. And now I'm focused on the next thing with builder methods.
Interesting because Clarity Flow, that business has a lot of competition with the WordPress realm, you know, like with the likes of
Yeah, I guess it
LearnDash,
does.
MemberPress, Lifter LMS. You know, there's so many.
It's funny. I haven't seen a lot. Like I'm aware of those products,
Mm-hmm.
but in my customer base for Clarity Flow, most of the customers who are coaches, they are comparing it against just using like Voxer
Okay,
or like chat tools,
I see.
and also like platforms like Kajabi
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah. It is.
like
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
the big course platforms, even like the non WordPress ones are sort of the alternatives that I tend to see.
Hmm. That's pretty cool. So,
Yeah.
so what product are you most proud of, if I may ask, till now?
Oh, I mean, I tend to, I'm happy. I'm proud of like the wins, if you will, of most of my
Yeah.
career, but I tend to see them as like mostly like base hits in baseball. And I feel like I haven't really hit the home run, but
Mm-hmm.
I had a few good things. I mean, I success wise, probably Audience Ops was probably the most sustainable success, and it was the largest exit of all of them.
Gotcha.
And the thing that I'm most proud of with that one, which
Mm-hmm.
I started in 2015, sold it in 2021, was that I got it to a point pretty quickly. Like by 2017, I was really only working like 2 hours a month on that business.
Yeah,
I
that's
had
success. That's
managed.
how you define success.
Yeah,
Something
like
making good
at that
money.
point, I sort
Yeah.
of decided like instead of being like all in on this and trying to double it and triple it and grow it, I was like, I'm happy with this recurring revenue and profit, and I want to use my freedom that I've just bought back. And I actually used that time in
Mm-hmm.
2018
Mm-hmm.
to learn full stack development.
I see.
So like before that, I was always front end designer, front end HTML, a lot of WordPress. But then in 2018, I was like, I really want to be able to build my own SaaS products, and so that's when I learned Ruby on Rails. And I had full time hours at my disposal to go full time just learning for that whole year. And then 2019, I did Process Kit. In 2020, I started Clarity Flow, and now I build all sorts of SaaS products. And I also partner with clients sometimes and build MVP projects for them.
But
So
nowadays, with when it comes to MVP, if I have some idea in mind, or my co-founder, like we just give a few commands to Lovable because we both are not,
mhm.
engineers, so we just give commands to
It's
Lovable.
incredible, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. If I'm sitting with somebody, I was sitting with a family friend of mine. He just popped over to my house and he said, "Listen, I want to launch this idea." No technical background. He's a VP of a bank in the UK. Just got lots of money. Just wants to start a business. Okay. I said, "Okay, I have a farm in India. I want to sell ghee online. Ghee, ghee for like
Yeah.
clarified butter." And I said, "Okay, wait for me." Like, I mean, just gave a command to Lovable and boom, his website was there. He said, "How much do I owe you?" I said.
Right. It's
So
incredible.
imagine if you had that at the time of Restaurant Engine. Isn't it crazy?
Oh, yeah. And also like audience apps where we were writing articles, right,
Mm.
with writers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
I
because
mean,
you have
yeah.
always worked with small teams, solo founders, etc., if you are to hire people now, who will you hire first? Content marketer, a support engineer, somebody like who would you hire? Because
So
you
I do work with my team is much smaller now than it used to be.
are.
But I do have a couple of developers, back-end developers, actually based in India, who work with me on some projects. They're sort of my assistants and go. So I have one full-time developer on Clarity Flow. So all she does is develop new features on Clarity Flow.
Mm-hmm.
And I sort of direct her, but she's fantastic. And then I have another developer who helps me with building MVP projects for clients. So that's something I still do from time to time is client will come in and we build an MVP on Rails and I'll sort of design it and direct it, but my developer handles that. And look, I could just delegate most of that work to AI coding agents,
Mm-hmm.
but I still see a value in having a person who owns the technically I own the project, but like you still need a person to make sure that the feature
Operator.
works
You mean the word
and like
operator? Somebody who can take
yeah
charge.
operate it like
Yeah.
you still need to develop it, test it,
Brian,
make sure all the
listen,
details are done, you
I
know.
I have this problem. Almost every other founder I know has the same problem. Then somebody needs to
Yeah,
own it, be
yeah,
accountable 100x. Being accountable is one thing, but can you go beyond accountability? Can you ensure
exactly.
it's profitable? It's like an owner of the company, it's very
And
hard.
I've always been incredibly lucky with the people that I work with.
Mm.
I just tend to attract them, or they just don't last very long with me unless they're these type of people who are just self-motivated, highly detail oriented. Like
Yep.
I just feel like I've had a really good working relationship with everyone I've worked with, and like everyone who has worked with me tends to work for multiple years with me because I'm really not a micromanager. I can be very heavy on process, but at the end of the day, I want you to ship finished
Yeah, get
work
it
that I
done.
don't need to
Just get
redo
it done.
myself. And
Yeah,
as
yeah.
long as I can trust in that, we're gonna have a great relationship. And that's been the
I hear
case
you.
for, you know.
I hear you. We're just coming up on time, so a couple of quick final questions. Like, if you were to go back like a decade ago and build a SaaS product, what would you build?
Oh,
Which
what
you've
would I
not built,
build?
or which you regret, oh damn, I should have done that.
Well, one thing that I always think about is not exactly a product I would have built, but like as I said, I learned full stack development in 2018.
Hmm.
I should have learned that in 2008. Like I waited too long to it's like I was saying about the sales thing. I think a lot of people in our industry have this tendency to put themselves in a box and say I'm in this box so I can't be in that box.
Hmm.
So if I'm not a salesperson then I can never sell. Or
Okay.
I used to think uh I'm a designer. I'm a front end guy. I can't do the magic that a back end developer can do. That's not me, you know.
Hmm.
That's too complicated.
Hmm.
That was wrong. I mean, I learned how to sell, I learned how to market, I learned how to build full stack in Ruby on Rails.
Hmm.
The sooner you can get your hands dirty and learn it and
True.
do it,
True.
the better you're going to be.
Yeah, I think
That doesn't mean you have to do everything yourself forever. You can always hire great people, but I still think there's a benefit of learning it and doing it and then hiring people to help you do the stuff that you don't want to do. You know?
that's amazing. I think that's a good point. I think about the same also, something very similar. And where are you based out of, Brian? Or
I'm
where
in Connecticut. It's about like a 1 hour north of New York City.
got it. And do you go to any events, domain days, WordCamp, not WordCamp, but any other events? physical events you like to go to?
I used to go to WordCamp like over 10 years ago. Haven't been there in a long time. I usually go to MicroConf, which is
Okay.
a conference for like bootstrapped SaaS companies.
Okay.
I've been going there for the last 10, 12 years. I might go again when the next one comes around. I'm not sure yet.
MicroComp. I haven't heard of this one.
Yeah, MicroConf. It's put on by Rob Walling. He runs the Startups for the Rest of Us podcast.
Hmm.
They're
Oh,
pretty big now. Yeah.
oh yeah, I found it. I found it because I also co-own another SaaS company called Brandy, BRANDYHQ, which is simply put like a digital asset management solution for companies of all shapes and sizes. And
Mhm.
we are trying to grow that exponentially this year and beyond. So yes, it's good to meet like-minded founders like yourself and keep on learning and exploring. Anyways, thank
Yeah,
you.
very cool. The other event that I've gone to many years is Chris Lemma's Cabo Press.
Of
That's always
course,
been
yes,
a
Chris Lima.
great
He's there at
time. Yeah.
WordCamps too. He's there at WordCamps too all the time.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
Everybody knows him. Everybody knows him now. It's hard to miss.
Exactly. Yeah, he's the
Yeah.
man.
Thank you. Anyway, thank you so much for being on my show. It was great to host you. And I'm finally very happy that I've met the original founder of Restaurant Engine, which led me to I'm talking to
Yeah, it
you.
was fun. It's fun to think back on those times. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me on. This is a lot
Yeah.
of fun.
Thank you. Bye.